All right, we'll get rolling, guys. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Got the standbys. The guys are always here, the loyal guys that always show up, so good to have you with us. Special team captain this week for Southern Miss will be Trevor Moore. He was 4 for 4 on kicks, 3 for 3 on field goals, got the extra point. Just off to a really, really good start and real consistent, and he deserves to be our captain. Injury standpoint, unless somebody's done for the year, I wouldn't say anything, obviously, but it was sure great to have Smiley and Wilson back. We didn't have them for the Rice game. We sure had them back last week. Both of them did some real positive things, especially Wilson. He's been our best back for months and months and months, and to get him back, it meant a lot to us. Iowa's giving up 50 yards a game rushing. We rushed for 200 yards or over 200 yards. Pull some of those yards out of there with the sacks, which you have to statistically, but we rushed against their front over 200 yards, and Wilson had a real good chunk of that, so that was a real positive, and been saying all along he's a really good football player, and you saw why Saturday. Blake Bean's kind of day-to-day. Good news is he's not out for the season. The bad news is he didn't play against Iowa. We're hoping he'll get back this week. He's a captain. He's our starter. He's an invaluable guy to our defense, and he couldn't play last week. But we hope to have him back this week. Southern Miss has, scored 52 and 50 in their 2 victories. They gave Nebraska a hell of a football game in Lincoln, Nebraska. I've been there a number of times when I was at Iowa and Iowa State. I know the environment and the challenge that you have in Lincoln, Nebraska, and they really, really played a heck of a game against them. Very impressive. Mullins is off to a great start, 10 touchdowns, I think only 3 picks, 64% completion average. Jalen Richard, the running back's really a good football player, got 5 touchdowns already this year. Ito Smith, 150 yards all-purpose, really a tremendous football player. And Todd Mungin's done a really good job in the short time he's been here. He took over a program that had unprecedented success, 18 winning seasons in a row. Mike Grant, one of my assistants, was there when we got let go at Iowa State. He ended up down at Southern Miss. One of the real head scratchers and crazy things that you see in all of college football was when that head coach was let go after 18 winning seasons and all the success. But the bottom line is they've had lots of major success, tremendous success, consistent success there for a long time. So great tradition over a lot of years. Real good challenge for us. But we've got to get more consistent in everything we're doing. In spurts and in flashes, we show some signs of being a good football team in really all 3 phases. But right now there's no consistency. We've got to be able to get that. And it's out here again, right out here on the practice fields, that we've got to accomplish that and get better at that. And that's one of the things that really seems to be missing through the early first 3 games of the season for us. So opening up to questions. Appreciate you guys coming.
So how do you guys go about trying to rebound after, kind of a slow start? Is there something you guys can do to try to give yourselves a bit of a spark?
No, I mean, there ain't anything special. There's nothing magical to it, Brett. We just got to try and turn this thing around one day at a time. And we believe in what we're doing. I think that's really important that you show that we're very, very positive about what can happen and that we can keep growing, we can keep improving. I met with my leadership committee and the captains last night after we got through with practice. And, adversity can either really unite you or rip you apart. And we've had a little adversity through the first 3 games, but I don't sense any of the ripping us apart. I think it really is uniting us right now. Everybody thinks that we can get better. We know we can. We have to. We want to. And the coaches and players all believe that. And hopefully you'll see that this Saturday. And we did even, the game got out of hand and the score got out of hand last week, but there were still, when you go break it down, there were some things that were really, really positive against a team that I think is a top 25 football team. Excellent in just about every phase, and they got good players, and they're well coached, and they're physical, and they're fast, and they got playmakers, and they got a number of guys that'll play on Sundays in the NFL like they always do at Iowa, and yet we did some real positive things in that game, even though the score, especially late, got out of hand. So those are things you pull from a game like that, and we're back in Conference USA play, a very important game this week, but let's keep moving forward here and keep improving.
Do you feel like you have the intensity level and positive attitude that you need to practice? Are you getting that from the guys?
Yeah, it's kind of inconsistent, Joe, to be honest with you, and that's what we addressed last night with the leaders of this football team. Let's get more of that. Are you just going through this each day, or are you growing through this? There's a big difference. You're just going through it, showing up, practicing, counting periods, or are you growing? If you're growing, you're improving. If you're growing, you're taking responsibility for what you're not doing well, and you need to do it better, and let's get better. So if you get better as an individual, we can get better as a unit, then we can get better on that side of the ball, then we can get better as a football team. That's really what we're trying to do. So, but I don't sense any, we got, 3/4 of the season to play. There's so many snaps, so many games, so many opportunities in front of us. But this is the best Southern Miss team I've coached against since I've been here. It's pretty obvious. This is my 3rd year coaching against them, but they're a good football team, and they're really, really scoring a lot of points, as are a lot of people in college football.
Do you take a look at what you guys are doing as far as quarterbacks? I mean, you got your backups back in there at the end of the game. You look at maybe mixing things up a little bit, or are you pretty happy with what Andrew's doing at this point?
Yeah, I mean, he's our starter going into practice tomorrow. We're not going to shake it up as far as the depth chart goes, but we evaluate every day, as you know, and we'll continue doing that. We want all 3 of those guys to play better and be more consistent in practice, and then carry it over to the game. And yet, we, as I said, we did some real positive things. Andrew could have had a better day if he got a little bit more help, too. We had 5 drops. 2 of them were big plays. Wilson's obviously behind their defender. It's a touchdown if he just catches a football. Well, it's easier said than done. Catch the ball. Well, he's missed a lot of practice in the last month, and he didn't catch it. He should have, and we think it's a touchdown if he catches it. Smiley's behind the defender. Make the play. It's not an NFL catch. It's just a good catch. Go do what you're on scholarship for. Make a play. Probably going to score a touchdown. And those are the kind of plays that can really make a difference at the flow of the game and the confidence of your football team. So help your quarterback too. And I'm not trying to be defensive about Andrew, but those are plays you got to make. So we ran the ball, 200 yards worth of rushing. We've got to throw the ball with more efficiency and accuracy, and then we sure don't want to turn it over, and especially when it goes 14 points the other way, one with Josh, one with Andrew, and that's just inexcusable, not acceptable. And a misread at that position can really cost you, as it did in both of those situations.
It seems like DeMarcus has got some athletic ability. Have you guys thought about, maybe trying to use a specialty quarterback in a situation like that, or get him out there and try to use him in a different way to change things up?
Yeah, we'd like to use him more if he's more consistent in practice, and that's really what we're looking for, Brett, because he really has athleticism, but he's had that in all the tape we watched in high school and at the JC, and he's had athleticism since he's come here. But you got to be able to trust that guy taking the snap out there, and the trust factor is getting better each day, but it's not yet where we want it. And that's trusting by your teammates, trusted by the coaches, trusted by Mike Kanellis, trusted by me, that you're going to do what we ask you to do. And it's getting better, but had it been better in the last few weeks, he would have been playing more. So we expect it to improve. We expect it to get better, and that's his responsibility. That's DeMarcus's responsibility. It's not anybody else's. That's his. He's got to learn it. He's got to execute it. He's got to earn the trust and do what we're asking you to do. But he's sure not giving up, and he's not packing his bags, and he's not looking for another school. He's done enough of that in his career. This is where he belongs, and he needs to be more consistent on a daily basis. If he does that, he's going to get more playing time because he does have talent, absolutely.
You moved him up to co-backup with, was that a slight depth chart change there?
Yeah, I mean, neither one of them were sensational, but we like both of those guys. We think both of them have a chance. Josh made a critical mistake, just like Andy Mack did. His limits, his snaps were a lot more limited, obviously, in the chances he got. But just giving the other team an automatic 7 points and a touchdown like that is just really poor. It's just we can't accept it. We won't, and we got to get back to plus category in turnover margin. We're +2 at halftime on the road at Iowa, and you're going, you know what? If we just go finish this game and do some positive things during the second half, then we can make it a 4-quarter game. But we sure didn't do that. We didn't get any on defense in the second half, and we turned it over, and we ended up -1 on the day, which was a real disappointment.
Is DeMarcus still learning the playbook, or is it just
Oh, no question.
execution?
At both. Still learning the playbook, still execution. Both. It's both. So, but he's conscientious, Joe, and he's been coming in. He's been putting extra time in, more so recently than he did when we first got here. We all have habits, either winning habits or losing habits, good habits or bad ones. And we're trying to get him to understand how important it is as a quarterback to have winning habits and good habits and consistent habits all the time. And he's really come a long ways that way.
Did you guys not start Murray that last game for a particular reason? It looked like Michael.
We go every day at practice. There wasn't any injuries, there wasn't any problems, there wasn't any behavior issues. Bonnegou was definitely the better player in practice last week. That's why we started Michael. So both of them will play again this week. Bonnegou will start if he practices the best this week, and that was why Mike Simmons made the decision. I supported it after we got through with practice on Thursday last week. So both those guys will play. I got 3 tackles that'll play with Miles and Murray and Bonnegou, but Bonnegou got the nod last week because of practice, preparation, consistency.
What aspects of the defense are you looking to improve on the most heavily?
Most of them, we still don't have an interception in 3 games. Tackling in space, tackling on the perimeter is really important. Any time people are getting big chunk plays, you never like that as a head coach or a defensive coordinator or a defensive coach or a defensive player. That we've got to do everything we can to eliminate that, slow it down, shore that up so they don't get the big ones, the easy ones. And the fans can see that. You guys can see it. I can see it when they get that big, huge run or that big, huge pass. It just makes it too easy. And we've got to improve there too. So communication, amidst all the chaos of, especially on the road where there's noise and it's absolute chaos all around, you still got to be able to communicate. And one of the 11 misaligns, or one of the 11 doesn't get the right coverage, or he doesn't get the signal, or we're not all on 11 on the same page, then that can be a problem. But I still believe what I've learned decades ago as a football coach: your players are a reflection of the way your ability to coach. So do a better job of coaching. And we can complain about this, or we don't have that, and we wish we had that, and all those things. Your players are still a reflection of your ability to coach. Each position coach, each coordinator, head coach, they're all the reflection of us and our abilities. So let's do a better job and keep improving.
Looking at their offense on film, what are your biggest concerns defending them?
The consistency of Mullins. Joe, he's really, really doing a good job. They got good balance. They can run the ball too, and the backs are good backs, athletic backs. They've gotten some guys through JC, through transfer, through development. They're better in the offensive and defensive lines than they were the last couple of years. You can sure see that. But Mullins is really doing a good job, and he spread it around. You can see the statistics. He gets to the ball to lots of receivers, lots of different guys, really doing a good job getting to their backs. But he'll spread it around, and he's smart, he's tough. Todd Monken's an excellent offensive football coach. Obviously, he has been his whole career. And you can just see more and more of that offense taking on his personality, and they're tough to stop.
Why has it been so tough on the road? I mean, you guys didn't win a road game last year. It's been kind of a struggle to start this year. Is there something you guys look at there?
No, I mean, there really isn't. If you have a good football team and you got good players and you got good coaches and you got a good system and they play with confidence, you got a really good chance to win. Be honest with you, Brett. As you go back through it, we've lost to some darn good teams on the road, obviously. And whether it's Power 5 or non-Power 5, many of those teams were bowl eligible and many of them were nationally ranked. And even though Iowa wasn't nationally ranked last week, they will be as the season goes on. Watch that one and see. Big game, obviously, for them in Madison, Wisconsin this week. But when you coach, you were a part of so many of those top 25 teams as a player and as a coach at Iowa, not a player. And you coached against many of those top 25 teams at Iowa. You know what they look like, and they got it. They've got it. So it was another example of a really good football team on the road, and we made their job easier with some of the mistakes that we made. So I wish I could give you a magic answer to that, but there isn't.
And Ryan Renfro had a tweet sort of responding to some negativity from fans this weekend. How do you sort of manage responding to negativity as a coach?
Yeah, I didn't know about that, and I don't have time to follow the tweets and social media. I just really don't, and I appreciate Ryan standing up for us. There's a study done I read about late this summer when I do get a chance to read a little bit before the season started, and it was about hundreds and hundreds of people that were interviewed as they were going through the dying process. And the number one regret that most people had was, I just wish I had the courage to live life true to myself and not worrying about what other people think or what other people think we can't do, or I wish I'd have just listened more to myself and believed in myself and dreamed those dreams and then went after them with everything that I got and quit worrying about on the outside. And it was pretty amazing, and you stop and think about that, and these are people that they know they're not going to live very long, whether it was days or weeks or months, but it was a huge, long study that was done, and it hits home when you hear those things, and I can understand that. And relate to a little bit. We just want our guys every day to be thankful, be appreciative, not accept losing, which we don't here, but know that we have a great opportunity here. A lot of people have a lot of faith in us, but the world today is win now and win fast and win consistently and win all the time. If not, then find a new coach, get better players, get better coaches, and start over again. That's kind of the mentality nowadays. And I think we have a situation where we're just one day at a time trying to get better. Got players and coaches that really believe in one another, and it still is a real joy for me to come to work every day, not because we're 0-3 right now, but because of the people that I surround myself with, which are coaches and players and our staff.
Anthony Wallace got his first start of his college career
Mhm.
last weekend with Blake being out. It's
He
kind of
did.
an interesting story considering he went to Oregon and all that. Can you talk a little bit about him and what he's done for your team, especially being a captain?
Yeah, doing a really good job, Brett. And that is a first for me that I've ever been around where a backup linebacker was named a captain. And it's not because of lack of leadership around the rest of the football team, but just because of how much faith and trust the players in this team have in him. Just a great young man. He's got one last year in college after the transfer from Oregon. He's got 1 year to make the most of it and have a real positive taste in his mouth. And he is, we all have leaders that lead by example. We have leaders that lead by example, and they have the juice, and they have the energy, and they have the ability to communicate that to their teammates. And he's just one of those guys. He loves to get in front of the team and talk. He'll have a great life in front of him because he'll never be shy about what's in his heart and what's in his soul, what's in his mind, and being able to communicate that to people around him. And I was really happy for the way that he played Saturday. Played a little better in the first half than he did the second half, but he really did some positive things. And as Chris Kosh and I were saying, Brett, he did some things better in that game Saturday against a really good opponent than he has in scrimmages or practices since he came here. And that is really, that is exciting to see. And because he cares so much and he loves this team. And I really relate to genuine people. I don't like being around phonies, and they're everywhere in America. They're everywhere, I guess, in the world. I don't travel the world, but he's one of the most genuine guys I've ever been around in my life. And what you see is what you get, and what you hear is what you believe.
It's been a long journey for him, just
Yeah.
I mean, how did he end up here with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we knew that he wanted to transfer. He had contacted us. You have to have a release before there can be any contact, obviously. We can't return a call. We can't return a text. We can't do any of that unless we know a young man has a release. And he contacted us, and he's one of those guys that it didn't work out at Oregon. And when it doesn't work out at Oregon, many times guys want to come closer to home for family, for support, for the love that they've had all growing all the years they grew up, and they lost out on some of that being a long ways away. And that's really how I ended up. So we watched high school tape. We talked to the Oregon coaches, make sure there was no issues character-wise. Is he leaving because of behavior issues, smoking dope issues, arrests, bad behavior? I mean, all those things. And there was just none of that. He just wasn't good enough to play in their defense in the two deep. And we want to give him a chance here. So I'm really glad he did. He's if you've been around him a little bit, he's a great young man. And, he comes to a home game here, and he's got 20 to 30 people to come to all the games. They're all in. The whole family is. And you love to see that for a young man.
Can you see why he was so highly regarded coming out of high school as a player?
Yeah, I mean, we watched the tape, and you can see on tape in high school that he really was going to get a number of opportunities. And he's made a lot of improvement since we started camp. He was last year was on the scout team, obviously, in the transfer, and he was slow to improve and slow to grasp things, not because of mentally, just from a pure performance and productivity standpoint, but he's really made improvements since camp started, and love having him on this football team.
Another guy that was kind of interesting is Chad Davis. He made the big play for you getting the strip, and he was one of those guys that kind of battled for a starting job. Can you take advantage of his opportunity?
He has, Brett. Yeah, he really has, and done a great job, and he's got a bright future, and he's really, really coachable, and he's really conscientious, and he puts a lot of time in over here in the building away from football, and it sickens him that we've gone 3 games and we don't have an interception by our secondary like it does all of us. We're not used to that, and he wants to be that guy that gets that first one because we know there's going to be more, but who's going to get the first one? So let's quit talking about this stupid streak going on of 3 games and no interceptions and start making plays. And he's one of those guys that's real determined to do that.
He kind of waited his turn a little bit here
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have any choice because he was not as good as the guy in front of him, basically. I mean, that's really what it was. And he's a quick learner. He's coachable. He's got good skills with the potential of having really good skills, I think, someday. But he's made the most of the opportunity he's got right now. And he comes every day with a smile on his face, and I mean that sincerely. It's important to him. This team is, winning is. He's sickened with losing. He hates it. And that's a good trait you want in all your players on your team.
How long was that Carlos Harris trick play in the works, and why did you decide to go with it?
Yeah, I mean, every week we practice some. We have them every week. We have some things that it's not always the same play each week, but we saw it on tape. Offensive coaches identified it, said, "Here's what we like. We think we can execute this," and it was a beautiful play. And it's one thing having trick plays or plays out of the ordinary in your repertoire and in your game plan and in your call sheet, but it's another thing executing it. And I don't want guys calling it on Saturday. I don't want Mike Canella's calling it unless we've had success out here at practice. Let's make sure we execute it out here. We're 0 for 4 out here at practice. We're not going to call it on Saturday. We get it done out here against ones against twos or ones against ones or even on scout team. But we execute it and we look good doing it. Then let's go to those Saturdays and take that in with us. And beautiful execution. Anybody else? Okay, guys, thanks.